what do we do? How can we make this job safe? I said the only way we can make the job safe is to apply for it.
Do I want to stand in the way of the company getting that bonus? No. Because the bonus too, it favor me.
Those that work in the oil and gas sector, okay, they are always very fresh like you are. Okay, so that what means from our size. Yes, I really want to know what are the things that can make you become from our size when you work in that sector.
Sometimes you just see the sign, no phones allowed, and you think they are writing no phones allowed because they don't want you to be pressing phone while you're working.
If I put in my CV to work in your organization, what would I advise you to do?
Go do auto workers.
When we hear the word oil and gas, the first thing that instantly comes to mind is fuel, energy, or even money. But behind the scenes are people working in this environment where one small mistake, one small gas leak, one small spark, and their life changes forever. Welcome to the Kevron Safety Podcast, a place where we discuss everything that concerns safety, health, and the environment. Today, we're going to be discussing a very interesting and delicate topic. We're going to be talking about fire and explosion hazard in the upstream oil and gas operation. What causes them? Why do they still happen up to date? And what can we do to protect lives from getting into war danger? To help unpack this topic, I'm joined by two professionals in the field. These are individuals who have spent years understanding the realities of high-risk operation, emergency preparedness, and workplace safety within the oil and gas sector. Ladies and gentlemen, to help moderate this session, I'm joined by an in-house professional who is a true force in the world of safety engineering and risk leadership. A man whose name carries weight across industries and professional bodies. A distinguished fellow of multiple institutions and the visionary managing director of Kevron Consulting Limited. In every space he steps in, he brings in leadership, depth of experience, and commitment to advancing safety standards across industry. Please join me as I welcome engineer Dr. Kayode Bode. It's a privilege having you on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest in the studio today. She's a powerhouse in the upstream oil and gas sector, a leader shaping the future of sustainability, safety, operational excellence. She's a seasoned HSE expert and an award-winning safety advocate. But beyond the technical depth, she stands out as a force of transformation, strengthening safety culture, elevating performance standards, and delivering real, measurable impact where it matters the most. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome Orume Ogenejode. Woo! It's good to have you in the studio today. Exactly. You are power, correct?
Thank you for having me once again.
Alright, so we're going to begin, but before we begin, Mark, can you briefly tell us a little bit about your experience in the HSE industry so far?
So my experience has been very, I'll say, let me use the word interesting, very interesting. I've been, I'll say, majorly focused oil and gas, which is why we're here, upstream oil and gas, being part of many operations, from production operations to drilling operations, and very recently into barging operations as well. So, the regulatory aspect of it, that's regulatory compliance aspect of it, the policies, procedures surrounding it, the HSE, what would I call it now, the safety hazards, the just basically all most of those processes, just be part of putting a lot of things in place for those operations to run as smoothly as possible. It has been beautiful and it has been very traumatizing. in some aspects, was generally interesting.
Okay. I'm excited you are on the show because the first time I heard you speak was in a conference and you said something very interesting. I think throughout the discussion I couldn't help but immerse myself in that conversation. I literally felt goosebumps listening to you. So I'm excited. Our guests watching us, please, this conversation we're about to have is no ordinary conversation. So at this point I urge you to grab your popcorn, grab your juice, sit down, because what you're going, and don't forget your jotters and pen, because you're going to be learning a lot from this section. Now, to kickstart this whole thing, Ma, when we talk about fire and explosion hazard in the upstream oil and gas sector, if you were explaining this topic, this concept to a 10-year-old child that is new to this whole HSC institution, how will you say it? How will you put it?
So I think the first thing I'll say is it's fire hazard. The explosion is something that arises as a result of a fire escalation. But I'll start with saying the fire hazard is anything really with the potential to cause a fire. That's as simple as I can be. Because, generally in our safety circles, we say hazard is anything with potential to cause harm, generally. So if we're taking to fire, then anything with the potential to cause a fire is what I would say is a fire hazard. So something as simple as paper, it's a fire hazard. Your cooking oil, it's a fire hazard.
Okay.
Your what else will I use now? Just anything in the right condition can be a fire hazard.
Okay. So in the upstream oil and gas division, how do we now relate this to that sector?
That industry is a okay hazard. So the mere fact that we're even working with hydrocarbon itself is a hazard. I think oil and gas in Nigeria is the what will I call it now? Is the industry with the highest risk in Nigeria, and in the world globally, I think is number 3 according to ILO standards. So really, you are working with hydrocarbons. With your hydrocarbons, you have crude oil, you have gas, you have like the makeup of the hydrocarbon. It's in itself is a working hazard.
Okay. So in that environment where people are working, and I believe there are heavy machineries within those environments, and it can cause like a clash. So how do we prevent this kind of hazard? Like, how risky is it basically?
It's very risky. One wrong move can basically be catastrophic. So I'd say first of all, we have regulations within the industry that guides us. So I'll start with there. We also align to industry best practice. But to go granular on this, you need to have a strong safety culture, and in order to have that strong safety culture, you need to have different guidelines guiding the people that are working there. They need to be aware of where they are working, they need to be aware of the entire environment in itself, so that this job that I'm doing is already this environment itself is already hazardous. So what are the steps that I'm going to take to keep myself and my partner safe, or myself and my colleague safe? So once you're able to really drill it down to those different levels, then I think you can work, I would say, to an extent successfully in that industry. But it's something that you need to have regulations to guide you. You need to have steps, standard operating procedures. Those things are it's not just paper. It's something that your employees need to live and breathe, because these are things that any one foot out of place can result in a catastrophic event.
Okay.
I want to say you did mention a statement where you started. You said it's been traumatizing. Well, you look like someone that's traumatized. Honestly, when you look at those that work in the oil and gas sector, okay, they are always very fresh like you are. Okay, so when you mention the word traumatizing, what I know about the oil and gas workers is that they earn good pay, they are well taken care of. So I disagree with you when you said it's traumatizing.
It can.
So why did you make that statement?
It can be, especially when you're dealing with certain groups of people that don't understand the environment in which you're working in. I'll bring in the Nigerian factor as well, because we are based in Nigeria. Somebody can want something done maybe quickly. You have different kinds of pressures that can be. The pressure in itself is not the problem. It's in the approach to getting that problem solved. So if you're speaking to someone that doesn't have the knowledge, the background knowledge of, I am working in a hazardous environment and this thing that I want can possibly be catastrophic, and is not able to take those steps to protect the company and the employees.
Okay.
It can be traumatizing talking to such persons.
Okay, so that was being traumatized. Yes, I didn't want to know what are the initiators of that. What are the things that can make you become traumatized when you work in that sector?
I'll give you an example. So I've been in a space where we have had a fatality that could have been avoided. So in that regard, it's a bit traumatizing, especially when you know that maybe certain steps could have been taken in hindsight to prevent such a thing from happening. You also have situations where I've also been in a situation where you are working with certain people, so maybe third-party contractors now, for example, and you're running an operation. You have screamed at the top of your lungs and you have done all that is within your power to do in terms of enlightening them on the process that they're about to embark on. And you still have them going about doing the wrong thing that eventually ends in something that's most of the time you are not ready for. And what I mean you are not ready for, I've been in a situation where that action led to a fatality. So how do you start to explain those things? On your own, you can give yourself the for lack of a better word to use, you can give yourself the pat on the back to say, okay, but we did all we could. But a life has been lost regardless.
So what are the main causes of fire and explosion hazard in the upstream oil and gas sector, based on your experience?
So the main cause, by virtue of the environment they are working in, hydrocarbon is the main hazard in that environment. So there are different things, different operations are going on simultaneously. So there's a bunch of things that could that could be hazardous at any given time. So if I have, for example, we're pumping crude oil, maybe from the station into a vessel, for example. It may seem easy or it may seem routine, mundane, but there are different things that need to be checked. There are different things that need to be checked to make sure that everything in that line is fit for purpose and is okay to be carried out at that particular time. You put in preventive measures, mitigation measures to ensure that the fire does not happen. You also have a step of putting in backup measures.
Okay.
So in case, we are not anticipating a fire, but in case it happens, what do we do? You need to have a second layer of protection. So you need to have maybe firefighting equipment around to ensure that, we are doing this thing, but just in case anything happens, we have second people on standby. There was an operation that they're working on, I think, a while back, maybe 2016, 2017. And something as, I think it was as simple as they were doing, not simple, but they were doing maintenance. Now, the plant was shut down. So the plant was shut down to do the maintenance that they were doing. And because this is us being proactive, that because even though the plant is shut down, we may still have residual oil or residual hydrocarbon in the atmosphere, and they were about to do hot work. Fire cover was deployed with additional firemen on guard while the operation was going on, and with backup firefighting protection for that same operation. So that's how seriously many companies within that space take those things, because one spark.
So that means if I put in my CV to you today, to work give your organization, what would you advise me to do?
What do you want to work as?
No, I'm not taking your role.
No, it's just a question. What do you want to work as?
But really, I'm just wondering, for those listening to us out there, okay, who want to work in this sector, I've been listening to you. You're going to work with hydrocarbon. You're going to be working with hydrocarbon, which in the service hazardous. So I'm just wondering, for people like yourself who have been in this sector, what has been your greatest motivation? Because for me, I'm just thinking, how do I find myself in an environment that I know is highly hazardous? You just mentioned, I already said, is the third high-risk sector. Okay, yes, I want to have a living, but what would be your advice to people like us who are scared of coming to that sector?
Don't be afraid. First of all, don't be afraid. It's high risk, high reward. That's why you said many of us look very. It's high risk, high reward. It's a high risk, high reward business. But I would say if you want to come into that industry, you need to have the right mindset.
Okay.
And learning never ends. Learning never stops. You need to. When you enter into such, or when you're coming into such, first of all, you need, I would say, basic knowledge. So there are many courses you can take, either online or institutions, safety institutions that you can latch onto to take those courses. And then you come in. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Okay.
Yes, don't be afraid. There are many things.
I'll remind you that you said that.
You, Papa, don't worry.
You mentioned earlier that there are so many hazards within the sector, and this is mainly tied to workers not adhering to safety procedures, right?
Yes, sir.
So I would like to ask, is work pressure also a factor people ignore this science?
So I'll answer that question by saying I don't think there's anything wrong with pressure. I don't think there's anything wrong with pressure. It is how you handle the pressure that reflects on your next actions. So if you have, I'm a firm believer of being a collaborator. I think, to be honest, that's why I've been able to get some things done. Don't stand outside looking in like I think that's the usual term that it gives safety people, that police people and whatnot. You are not you can be on this, you can stand and still make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, but get into the process as well. I find that when you're more of a collaborator in these things, you too, because let me explain it this way. You're working in a company. We have a target in the company. If we meet that target, am I going to get paid my bonus? Of course. So, do I want to stand in the way of the company getting that bonus? No. Because the bonus too, it favors me. It's true. That's the real truth. The bonus too favors me. So what do? I liaise with who I need to liaise with. So I'm not waiting for you to say, okay, we need to do so and so. Okay, what's your plan? No, I'm not waiting for you to finish with your plan. I'm coming in with you to build that plan. So you see, by the time I'm coming in with you to build the plan on how we are going to get this work done in the amount of time that has been given to us, because my core is safety, I'm also thinking about safety while we are thinking about how to get that thing going.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So I think we have to have a mind shift in generally as safety professionals. Don't stand outside pointing fingers. Go into the field. I'll use the word battlefield now. Go into the battlefield and come up with solutions. So be a bearer of solutions. Don't be someone that is just pointing out all the problems and all the non-compliance and all the go into the battlefield and be a collaborator. So I think in that manner, because we are all under one goal, we get things done better.
So what are the major risks involved in handling the crude oil and in the production process in general?
There are lots of risks. Like now they are focusing.
What are the ones that people are most likely to ignore but can cause danger?
See, it will shock you what people ignore. It will shock you what people can ignore. And sometimes it may not be intentional. It may just be absent-minded. I give you an example. If you are going into some certain plants, you can't go in with your phone.
Okay.
You can't go in with your phone. But you'll see some people, maybe they are pressing the phone or something and they just put the phone inside. That's an ignition source. So again, you need to know why you are doing certain things, because sometimes you just see the sign, no phones allowed, and you think they are writing no phones allowed because they don't want you to be pressing phone while you're working. Even that in itself is actually a distraction, but the major reason is that's an ignition source. So if you as the worker are trained, and that's why training and awareness is also very key. And I tell people, you need to explain why there are certain things in place to the people, because if you don't explain, they don't understand, and if they don't understand, they can't follow you on that journey. They can't what's the word, they just see you as somebody that is making noise. But if they know how it affects them, then you get more results that way. There are some areas too you need to wear earmuffs to enter there. Why do you need earmuff? Because of the noise. Do you understand the noise assessment that was done on that facility to get the what's it called now, the benchmark?
Okay.
Do you know what is going to cause you, not the company, you long term if you keep going there without earmuffs? So you see what I mean?
Yeah.
If you are able to explain those basic things to people, because I'm giving you like very common examples of what people are very likely to just toss around. Do you understand? Because you don't understand the reason why those things were put there. So if you understand the reason why those things were put there, you yourself, because human error is one of the major issues that we battle. So you yourself will not become human error because you understand why those things were put in place.
Yeah, so having said this, I'm sure you have regulators that you interface with. So we would like to know, what are the regulators, some of the regulators that you've worked with, and what's your perception of how well they are managing this sector? Would you say, just on a rating of 1 to 10, how would you rate it, and the reason why you are giving that score?
I will speak for myself. So some of the regulators.
Remember, you still work in the sector.
Like I said, I'll actually be very honest. And like I said, I'll speak because I know people have different experiences. I'll speak for myself, and I'll give reasons why I think it's that way in my case. So first of all, we have NEPRC. That's the defunct Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR.
Okay.
Now they are called I think Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Resource Commission. You also had NMDPRA. You liaise with them on some things, even though they majorly operate midstream and downstream. We have some categories that we have to liaise with them on. We also have NOSDRA, which is the Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency. Ministry of Environment, federal and states. When we are doing drilling operations that require, or any operation really that requires radioactive material, we have NNRA, Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority. So those are the major ones at the top of my head that I can't think of. Now, to be very honest with you, I have never had a problem with a regulator.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that.
That's why I said,
Because so sorry that I have to cut you. Can you be honest with us? Are you being honest with us?
That's why I said I'll speak for myself and I'll be honest. I've never had a problem with the regulator. And I'll explain why. You need to understand that, because I know people that have, so I'm saying this because I know people that have had issues.
Okay.
But we also need to remember that in as much as they are regulators, they're also human beings. And NEPRC most of the time will tell you, we are here to enable your business. So they are not here to stop you, because like I said, if you go back to the business point of view, right? As a nation, Nigeria, oil is one of our major sources of income. So everybody's eye is there. So as much as possible, they are there to actually enable your business, because the more oil you produce for the nation, the more money is coming in, right? So at the back of your mind, let that one sit somewhere. I like to think like a business person, true, because it helps me navigate several areas. So why I say I've never had a problem with them, I had a boss. a couple of years ago. And whenever we're in the office and we don't really have, maybe there's not a lot on our plate, we would go to the office.
Really?
Yes, we would go to the office. If there was anything coming up, maybe we needed to submit, like as much as they send us a letter to we would go, we had dispatch, but we would go personally to submit those letters.
Okay.
She taught me that, and it stuck, because in that manner, we are building rapport with the regulator. So it's not only, when we get into trouble that we're now looking for you. If we have certain operations that we know as a company we want to go into, we are going to meet them. We're saying, okay, we're thinking of doing this maybe next year or in a couple of months or whatever. Please, how do we do this? We know that ECASPEN is one of the regulations that is run by NDPRC. We know that this and this says this. Can we also apply it here? Or is there any other regulation, or like whatever it was? So from the beginning, we're involving them. We don't wait to have an issue to involve them. So that way, when your application or your whatever is coming to their table to approve, we don't have an issue, because they would have guided us on every step. So that's why I say I honestly don't have an issue.
So what grade are you going to give on a 1 to 10?
What regulator? I'll give them 9. Let me keep one for myself, but I'll give them.
Interesting. This is actually interesting, and more of our awareness to us, and having a part that the regulators are doing so well in that sector. Well, what I would say is that for those listening to us, I don't know, maybe they will agree with your judgment or not, okay, but whatever it is better that you're giving an insight on how well to improve relationship
Yes.
with the regulators. I think collaboration is key, and I'm happy to hear that. But what is it that they're not getting right that you feel can be improved?
The things that I'll say they're not getting right, I'll say maybe turnaround time on some of the applications that are going. And again, it's still, for me, I would still say, so I come from a school of thought of, you can get anything you want if only you know how to navigate, right? But I'll say some of the things I've had issues with is turnaround time for certain maybe applications that we're sending or things like that. And more often than not, by the time you place a few calls across, okay, I did this, I've put all this, it can be traced in the system to, okay, maybe you couldn't add this is why we haven't responded. Or sometimes I'll give an actual instance of where we actually just sat in someone's email. Unfortunately for me, the person went on leave, and it was one of the things that just stuck there. So again, relationship, by the time I was able to make a few calls, I realized that the person that I was talking to, or the person I was sending emails to, was on leave. So we now had to route through another channel. But I'll say that turnaround time.
Okay, so legally speaking, in case a major accident happens, do you think the safety officers should be held accountable or responsible?
No.
Really?
Yes.
How do you justify that?
If something happens, more often than not, it's a system failure. And the system failure is not the responsibility of the safety
Officer.
manager or safety officers. And yes, I know I'm a safety officer, but saying it's not generally the responsibility. Something in the system has failed. So I don't like the blame approach to safety, because you find that you hardly get anything done. How many people do you want to fire? How many people do you want to fire? And if you keep firing people, or if certain mistakes keep happening, near misses happen for a reason. I was in a system once where people did not used to report the near misses, and it was because it was being held off. So we noticed that we're not getting near misses. So even I'd say on this level now, even you collating your metrics in your whatever facility, you need to, it's not just to gather numbers, you need to study those numbers and know what those numbers are telling you. So by the time we got to the ground of it, we actually realized that near misses were happening. No, it's just that the report was not going on. And so we now had to start doing an orientation on people to say, you have to report these things so that at that level we can kill it. And again, it wasn't a safety thing, it was a system thing, because you think nobody wants to see those numbers, but we want to see those numbers because what those numbers tell you is that those are areas that you need to focus on so that it doesn't escalate into something big. So if something like that happens, you need to actually focus on the system and leave individuals out of it. Many individuals are tradable, and I say many, likely not all, but many.
Yeah, but we've had organization where there's been an accident, and from interaction with practitioners, what you hear is that management of most organizations would most likely want to trace the incident back to the individual. Okay, and it's not uncommon to hear organization say that, oh, the officer fails to do this, or the practitioner failed to do this. And if you trace it back, just like you said, you've just mentioned that most times system failure will most likely be linked to organizational failure, and most times management system failure as well. But we've seen on several occasions that management would often fail to take responsibility for that. What's your view? How can we change that in Nigeria?
So, as a safety professional, right, documentation should not be far from you. It shouldn't be far from you. I have gone to levels where, and I don't, your word is your word. Yes, no problem. I agree and I trust it. It's no problem. But we'll back it up with paper.
Is it just for the, are you referring this to all sector or just for the upstream and that sector?
Every sector.
Okay.
For me, as long as because let me explain why. As long as you are I'm speaking to safety professionals now. As long as you're a safety professional, documentation should not be far from you. And when I mean documentation, things are happening, whatever it is that is happening, most of the time they always have reports, incidents forms, you have all those things. Keep all those things. Send them to who you're supposed to send to. Don't, and that's why this is those things, people take them trivially, but those things are actually, what's it called? They are legal documents, they are legal tenders, right? Put your documentation there. If something keeps happening, because like I said earlier, right? An incident doesn't just happen. Something has been happening behind the scenes long before that major event happened. So for every event that is happening behind, or for every pressure that is being put on you to do something that is not right, back it up. Because what we've realized is that sometimes by the time you put pen to paper, the person that was pushing you to do the thing is not going to want that thing on paper. Sure. The documentation is very important. Very, very important. You find out that many people, once you ask them to put pen to paper, you run. Me, Orume, I've gone as far as, if you're telling me something and you're refusing to send me an email on that thing, I will initiate, and you're pressuring me behind, but you refuse to send an email. I will go as far as sending you an email to say, dear sir, as discussed earlier, should I go ahead to this? If I don't get a response from you, my two leg is not moving.
Sorry. I used to tell them that whatever is not documented is not.
Does not exist.
Straight. So I think you just mentioned something that I think all practitioners should be aware of. Like you said, documentation is key, and it's very important that those documentation are kept safely as well and are traceable, because of it's really when there are incidents, most of them become illegal documents for reference, even in court as well. Yeah. But of course, we don't want incident. But you mentioned the fact that there are legal materials that can be used in court. Why did you say that?
I say that because many times, with regards to, I'll dive a bit into a bit of environments now. Most of the time, when you have maybe certain court cases or certain summons on an incident. Maybe they say there was, for example, maybe an oil spill or a fire at a certain location, and you have people coming out to say, in fact, sometimes we've gotten some notices where they'll tell you your fire happened maybe at A, and people in maybe like F will be sending you court summons to say maybe their settlement or something was affected by that. And when you even look at the map, you are nowhere near you. So you have, in that instance, we actually have certain documents that we can present, because that's another area now. You have in your protocol and oil spill, you have your process that you follow with the regulators and with members of the affected area. So when you finish, it's called joint investigation form. So you fill in all the documents, you fill in all the findings of that investigation, and it happens. It's a multidisciplinary team, so it's not something that only one person or only two people or only three people can sign. You actually have people from all from all aspects signing that have come for that investigation. So by the time I have that document, right, and then in that document there's always GIS mapping of the affected area. So if I'm taking that affected area and I'm checking my map with that affected area, and I'm seeing that, for example, F people that are saying they were affected, the GIS or the mapping that I have didn't even involve them, that's my tender to say it did not near you. End of story.
Yeah, but if you're having these incidents, how many of the major players in this sector are prosecuted in a year in Nigeria? Do we? I'm yet to have record of any in the public space. I'm not asking us to mention names, but in your perception, do you really think the regulators, because you mentioned earlier that the regulators are actually doing enough, but we've had some accidents that has happened in this space. Okay, so but we hear of these accidents, but that's the only thing we hear of. We've not heard of any major prosecution. Yes, sometimes maybe one or two fines, but this fine is actually enough, because I'm yet to see. If I make reference to some international bodies, or let's look at other countries overseas, okay, I know there are corporate manslaughter regulations that holds management responsible where there are significant failures like this, but the corporate manslaughter, I've not seen that being effectively applied for the major players in this sector. Why do you think we are not having people being punished for failures that are resulting to deaths in Nigeria?
Very good question. So I may not be able to answer it fully. However, I'll answer with knowledge as I have. I don't know of any corporate manslaughter charges that have been brought against anyone. But what I can tell you is that usually when we have incidents that result in fatality, I promise you, the regulators don't see.
Okay, so when you say I, are you referring to yourself, or you are referring
I can tell you
the sector in general?
Because
what you are saying now is that you guys have been killing people. Is that what you're saying?
No. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this sector in general, this sector particularly, I can assure you that usually it happens, but it's very few and far between in some instances. But I can assure you that usually when it happens, at least in my experience, I know that the regulators get involved, and it is a very heavy level of involvement from the beginning to the end. Now, different things may. The thing with Nigeria is that many of the information that is gathered from those situations is not something that is shared publicly. But if you meet the individual companies, I'm sure they can tell you the different processes that regulators took with them to investigate those incidents. Now, the results of the investigation as to why certain things happened and as to why maybe there were no corporate manslaughter charges now is what I wouldn't know, because I haven't been in that space. But I can assure you that usually once in major incident, in fact, once there's an incident that happens in your facility, oil and gas is one of the heavily regulated, in fact, not one of the, it is the most regulated industry in Nigeria. So I can assure you, you'll be receiving calls. If it has anything to do with the environment, you'll be receiving calls from NEPRC, who is our chief regulator in this industry. You'll be receiving calls from NOSDRA. If it has anything to do with the environment or oil spill, you'll receive calls from him.
Okay, so if you have to change anything within the upstream oil and gas sector, what would that be?
Multiplicity of regulations. I think we've been singing that song for years and years and years, because there are different things. So the PIA was able to streamline some of those things. So I applaud the PIA for that. But you can have maybe one. Let me give an example. If I'm drilling or if I'm doing any operation that has to do with radioactive sources, I'm looking at NNRA and then I'm looking at NEPRC. Right? I'm looking at NRA because they are the chief in terms of nuclear regulation measure, and NEPRC because they are upstream. So and it's not an either or. I have to get from everybody. Before the PIA, if you're doing EIA, you start your engagement with NEPRC, you start your engagement with Federal National Environment. You so you are paying money here, you are paying money there, you are paying for every level. And you host, maybe if you are doing screening and stopping, you do here, you do here. So you are doing all the way. All the PIA has done for us now is streamlining it to Federal National Environment. However, the environmental management plan that is as a result of that EIA is now under the purview of NEPRC. So that's how they sort of shifted it. But we need more streamlined.
Yes, I agree with you. I've had a lot of people that would service that have also raised that as a concern as well. And I think it's one of the challenges. I had someone mention too when they were doing EIA for a company. So I knew there was a lot of complaint and concern about you are dealing with multiple agencies at the same time. And it still just seems like it's almost the same thing that you have to do with each of them. So I'll leave you with do it or answer a question.
Okay, thank you very much, Inaki. So in all this discussion, there has been a concern on my mind. Would you advise workers to not work in environments that are not safe for them, even if it risks their job?
Work must work with reason. And I think a lot of things that I've mentioned have already addressed that. So in terms of, first of all, if you're told to do a certain job and you feel like a certain job is going to be risky, when they are doing, because it's not just, nobody just say, oh, go and do a certain job. You need paperwork to back up that job. So you need, for example, your job hazard assessment, you need all those, your permit to work, all those things. So go back to your drawing board. Okay, you want to do this work. Yeah, let's sit down. Let's plan out, because you always need to do that. You plan out how you're going to achieve that job. So don't wait for them to come and give you plan and say, okay, this is the job, go and do it. Start at the collaborative level. If you're at a level where you are not in the room when you're having those kind of discussions, so maybe for example your corporate team is the one handling those things and you are on the field, for example, you make sure that whoever is representing your team, so whoever is representing HSC, is at that meeting. And the person that's representing the HSC team at that meeting is quite knowledgeable on the job that is about to be done. Because sometimes you can have a HSC representation there and the person is not very knowledgeable about the job that is about to be done. So your concerns not really. If you had any concerns prior to them, or maybe you heard this as that, oh, you want to do this here, tell the person that's supposed to be at that meeting, so the person is well aware. If you used to call you into a meeting to raise your concerns, then you request for that. So don't be passive. That's what else. Don't be passive, because that's your life. If I keep saying, if you die today, you are leaving your family, the organization is going to go on. is a very bizarre truth, but I think it's a truth that all employees to know. If you die today, this is the one that's supposed to feel the brunt of your aces. The organization will warn you, the war within silence. And another one in silence, I promise you, everybody will see their job. In fact, you won't hear the memory yourself, they feel every remember.
Wow.
So, what's the importance is you keeping your life. So, don't be passive. Don't be passive.
So what do you really, what would you say is your major passion for this sector? What inspires you to keep working in this sector despite the high risk exposure?
The money.
I can't believe that.
The money is good. Really sounds, but
Should I be changing job desk?
But in all seriousness, I think for me, I'm someone that I like things being done, and I like them being done properly.
Okay.
So I think that is actually a personality of mine that has translated into how I do things in my career, it has translated. I like getting things done, and I like getting things done the proper way, right? And I'm happy when we're all going home. There's nobody that is coming that something happened, they were burnt, something happened, their hand caught, something like, we're not hearing that. We're all alive and we're playable.
So before we wrap up the show, sorry for cutting you in. Let's talk solutions for a bit now. The growing AI and automation, how do you think it can play a role in minimizing this risk?
So I think it will promote, or rather it will reduce many of the
And exposure.
yes, it will reduce many of the risks people. However, it comes with its own set of risks.
Okay,
Because you have automation systems. I think if you actually go to some plants, they actually do have, maybe not integrated up onto the AI level, but they do have automation systems. Sometimes, I think if I'm correct, Texas BP or something, there was actually an incident found on Epic America. I'm not sure if it's one lab, but they had 2 triggers. The first trigger didn't go off. It was the septo by yes, it was second layer. So by the time second layer, it was already the end. So those are kind of things I think we'll start experiencing if we are not very careful. So I think the integration should be looked at, but we should also understand that it doesn't come to clear away all our problems. It comes with its own set of risks. So that should also be looked into and should be provided.
Yeah, I think literally a lot of us are beginning to depend so much on AI, and integration of that into systems in all and that sector. Just like you said, I think we have a situation where a lot of operators will begin to depend so much on this. But when there are failures, how do we then manage this? So, would you say that AI is something that has come to stay? And if it has come to stay, what should we be doing to better utilize it in this sector?
And I spoke to still, it's here. See me, I love AI. However, I think that everything that has a positive also has a negative. So we should be channeling, we should be moving towards evolution. However, we should also put into consideration the fact that evolution is going to come at its own cost. So we shouldn't just think that AI is our savior, AI is our team saver. Don't forget that AI is also garbage in, garbage out. It's garbage in, garbage out. So it is what I put into it that it is going to that I'm going to get. Sometimes if you use AI the wrong way now, you realize that it doesn't even give you, sometimes you can ask it a particular question and it doesn't even give you the real answer to that question.
Yeah, that's true.
So that means that it's also
Learning.
Yes, it's also learning. It's not perfect. At the same way, human beings too are not perfect because there will always be human error. There will always be human error. So embrace it. However, put at the back of your mind that it is not it is not the 100% solution to everything. So know that it has risks and work towards fixing those risks or tailoring or just ensuring that there are stopgaps to prevent those risks from.
Okay, so what would you think? Just your own opinion, really. I know there are a lot of studies about how you can reduce fire and explosion risks in the oil and gas sector. But based on your years of experience, can you educate us on some of the things you've done in the past or that you are aware of that others have done to reduce or eliminate fire and explosion risks in the upstream oil and gas sector?
I'd say
There is some new practices.
very simple good practices. Something as simple as CMOS, simultaneous operation. Something as simple as
So sorry, we are not experts.
Sorry.
Might be nice, but
sorry.
I'm sure most of our audience, some of them might be hearing Simon.
Sorry.
Is it a drop for treating Eddie?
So simultaneous operations. So that's CMOS is simultaneous operations. Let's start from here. So it means when you are doing several. So that usually happens most of the time. It happens maybe when there's a plant shutdown. So you would have gathered, maybe you have to do maintenance here, you have to do some work here, you have to do. So yeah, you have like a group of things that you want to do at the same time. Okay. And all of them carry their own different level of risk. So you're not just saying, okay, let's just do it. You are sitting down and you're gathering to actually say, okay, we need to do this. Sometimes it's not even, sometimes it's just that maybe this plant is running, something has happened there, we can't power something, or it needs maintenance. This one now comes and says, oh, they need to do something here as well. Third person comes, oh, they need to do something here as well. And then we plan, we now say, okay, we need to do the three things. We'll now plan a shutdown of the facility. And then we have these 10 jobs now that need to happen during that shutdown phase, right? So everybody, let's now all come to the table. If maybe we need to get more people or we need to get a third party hire because the people that are now going to do that work, they are not enough in-house. We now know, okay, we're getting third party, we're getting this, we're getting that. What that lets you do is you are now planning the operation on paper before going to execute. So you can analyze the 3 different projects that you are doing, analyze the risk involved in those 3 projects that you are doing, put in mitigation measures to ensure that everybody is safe while they are working, put in measures to backup measures, say, just in case something goes wrong, your medivac in place, your firefighting, whatever in place, your cordoning off the area just in case there's going to be an oil leak in place. So everything is in place. So that's CMOS. So you can do all the operations simultaneously.
So management of simultaneous operation is one way we can actually reduce the risk of fire and explosion.
Yes.
Okay, so any other one that we want?
I'll say take certain sessions seriously. So there's JS, I think so, poly-JS, some poly-JHA, job safety and job hazard analysis. Some don't just see it as a document, they just keep document and they come and drop it on the HSCP system. That one too, just sign off. Those are actual things I need to.
Have you experienced a GSA that is used in one particular operation being brought to this?
I raise you one. There's some people coming to work. I think they wanted to do night operations at our facility, and they gave me a JHA. That JHA, I think it was just 5 things, 4 things or 5 things that were on it. And when I look at it, I said, people say you want to do night operation. There's nothing about night operation. Like, so it was almost like they just went to Google and did something and sense. And unfortunately for them, maybe they've been trying it in the past, like has been working for them, but unfortunately for them, they jammed me. So because I don't take documents lightly. So I sat down, we analyzed it in my team. We sat down and analyzed this case. I sensed about.
Yeah, I think it's very common, to be honest. I think I remember a lot of projects where you have the GSA being used for this particular operation, and they bring in it to a new operation so you're used to it. And for a particular location, they've used it previously. Even on the different projects, they are bringing it just, and you're surprised you still see the name location of the not even existing. Location is not even existing. Maybe it's just 3 years ago they start and bringing it. So what will you say is the major cause? It will be training, will it be awareness, or what can we do to actually reduce that?
Both of those, awareness and training. I remember I said, if you know why we are doing something, you know how to approach it better. Many people or many contractors just send it in because in their mind they just think it's something to check up base. It's something as they asked us to provide some documents, so they just send it. So they are not doing that JHA because they want to be safe. They are doing that JHA because it's part of the requirements to do the job. Not necessarily because they want to carry out that job safely.
Yeah.
They probably, in fact, many times you see that when they even send you method statements and all those things, the thing that is a method statement is not what you go there to go and do. Like they are just giving, it's almost like you want paper, yeah, take paper. But we that were doing the work, you know what we're going to go and do there.
You know, I just need to say this. I remember someone told me that, do you want to permit? And I said, what is not? And I said, what's the meaning of permit? And he said, permit means do you want to die? Yes, and I said, okay, I don't want to die. I was referring to one operator. So I saw them interacting. I said, oh, what are you discussing about? Said, oh, I just told him. The operator said, look at this HSC officer. He just told me that I don't want to permit. I said, which one is permit? I said, he said, what it means that I was asking him that do you want to die?
Yeah.
I said, okay, so why did you ask him if he actually
Want to permit?
He now said, yeah, because of this and this and this, some certain figure, I think some observation on how the guy was managing the job he was assigned to, was doing it unsafe. And I said, okay, you know what? Just like Zoe said, like, let's now focus on the solution.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, so what can we do? How can we make this job safe? And I said, the only way we can make the job safe is to apply permit. And I said, okay, what do you mean by applying permit? And he says permit means P-E-M-E. And I said, okay, so run me through that. And he said, I don't know, maybe you've either applied this in the past, or maybe it's something you also consider when you're managing risks in the oil and gas sector. And he said the permit is P-E-M-E. He said, first, we need to look at the plants. We need to look at the people, which is the P. How people behave, their behavioral attitudes, the person's knowledge of awareness of HSE, his competency, and all of that. Now, when we leave the P, we then go into the E. We also need to look at the environment in which person needs to work. Just like you work in the oil and gas sector, what are the risks associated with those environments? Now we're talking about fire and explosion risks. So you also need to understand the risks in that sector. Then it went into the M, right?
Yeah.
So I talked about PE, and then it then said we need to look at the quality of materials, that we want to use, are they safe to use, are they safe to maintain, and all of that. Then lastly, what's the last one? Did I mention environment?
Yes, you did.
I think the equipment. Did I mention equipment?
Yes.
You mentioned the two
The two. So I know one of the E is environment, one is equipment. So, and I said, okay, this are acronyms that maybe the oil and gas sector needs to apply. And I think in all our operations, this falls will interact. The people, the equipment, the materials you're using, and the environment. So in your own knowledge working in this sector, do you think it's something that applies in the oil and gas sector?
Yes.
And if it does, can you please introduce it?
I actually, because immediately you said it's like I actually stopped because those are the kind of fun things that you can teach people to make the things stick, right? Because when I sounded interested to you, that's when you got it, right? So I'll actually steal it. That's all right. I'll borrow it.
Okay. So as we're preparing to round up, I believe there are people watching us that want to join this oil and gas sector. So what advice will you give them as a professional?
Don't be afraid. First of all, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to, don't be afraid to do what is right. Because at the end of the day, you going home is what is most important. Is what is most important. So don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to, let's say again, don't be afraid to speak up. Learn. And don't be afraid to do what is right.
Okay.
Yeah, would I be right to say don't be afraid to also apply it to the oil and gas sector?
Don't be afraid to apply it. Don't be afraid.
Maybe you said it that the higher the risk, the higher the reward.
Yes.
So there's quite it's quite rewarding, right?
Yes,
So speaking of applications,
we'll talk after.
speaking of applications, as a role model, in terms of competency, what kind of courses or what do you advise the people looking up to you who want to also work in the same space as you do? What do you advise they do or courses they take?
So don't be afraid to read. Don't be afraid to gain more knowledge. Kevron is there, and I know that there are many courses that Kevron offers tailored to oil and gas. So don't be afraid to learn. So those things are not cheap. So, but it's an investment. See it as an investment, right? Because many of those things you do need to learn. You do need to learn them. So don't be afraid to learn, and don't be afraid to invest in that learning, because it will serve you. To serve you.
So, Njake, do you want to mention some of those courses that they can start learning how to apply right now?
I think there are quite a lot. Just to add to what she has said, I think I'm a strong advocate of maintaining your continuous professional development.
Right.
You need to join professional network, professional institution. We have the Nigerian Institution of Safety Engineers. We advise that you join. There are also international organizations like the HIOSH. It gives you opportunity to interact, have access to a lot of materials as well. Then for us as an organization, Kevron Consulting is known to deliver exceptional training as well. And some of the courses, if you're in the oil and gas sector, you can do courses like the hands-on. We run hands-on courses. We also have process safety management course that you can launch, you can take as part of your continuous professional development. There are also certification program as well, so you can do safety case. You can do behavioral-based safety training. There are quite a lot. We are an approved provider for higher courses, like we run the advanced project safety management course for managing safely, and quite a lot of other courses. So if you want to learn more, build competency, then come to us.
Oh, that's right.
Kevron Consulting is the place to go to.
Exactly. All right, viewers, we've come to the end of today's session. It was truly a power-packed session. I believe that those of you who didn't get your job, as you can download this video, save it down, rewatch it over and over. We also have courses like Njake rightly said that you can enroll to build competence and have an edge in applying in these sectors. My name is Zoe Agne. I am your host for today's session. Please let us know your comments, your concerns. We are happy to answer any concerns, any questions that you think we didn't cover in this section. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and we'll see you very soon. Stay connected to Kevron Safety Podcast.